Hey, DC Common Talkers, Brandon here. Along with me today is a good friend of mine. You know him as Talking Geek. Please welcome back or welcome to the channel, Danny. Danny, how are you doing today?
Hey, everybody.
Today we're going to actually talk about why the JSA is so important to us, or to me at least. And I'm going to open the door up for this as a conversation. This is the first superhero team ever in comics. This was never even thought of at the time. This was 1940 when this all started. What's your take on the JSA being the first team, and how, and not only that, how it set the standard for all superhero teams that came after?
I think that a lot, it just showed, like, I don't want to say legacies because there weren't legacies back then.
Hmm.
It was just the aspect of these people they showed how powers should be used. They showed that when you have abilities above and beyond, there is a responsibility to go above and beyond.
Right.
It's kind of to rob Spider-Man, the with great power comes great responsibility it's just a great example of it. And to me, they're important because they show something to aspire to.
So I remember reading All Star Comics #3 about a year, 2 years ago, for the first time. Never read it. I remember just how silly the story was. And it's not being mean. It's just this, you could tell
Oh
1940s
yeah.
writing to now, being more stories. But I remember Johnny Thunder being like, why was I not invited to this dinner? Why is this not happening? And then he goes there and they all just share dumb stories from their lives and how they all came together as a team. And just to think about it, because you don't really get that team aspect till about issue 2, issue 4 and issue 5 of All Star. That you kind of see them start working as a team, because All Star Comics 3, all that is just them sharing stories and being there as a team and sharing what they're capable of. Especially when Jay Garrick talks to sharks, but we won't go down. Hawkman wore an asbestos suit. That didn't age well either. It just some stuff don't age well from that story. The only ones that did was Alan Scott's, and Our Man's was actually really good too. Other than that, the rest of them, it's like, don't ever write that ever again. Like, just stop, But I feel with the JSA, and I'll quote somebody from comics, Batman. And I think that's what set that stop. As I believe it was in Star of John's run, he brings up that the Justice League is a strike force. The JSA is a family. And that's what I feel like when you have somebody like Batman who can recognize that and understand that purpose. I feel that's what set that team. That team is just focused on themselves, and not just meaning in a mean way, but they know their weaknesses, they know their strengths, they know everything about each other. Something that I don't feel the JLA has ever done. Like, they have never understood. They just go in head first to try to save the day, but they don't look at all the outcomes that might come. Something the JSA does. They see the dangers, they see stuff like that, and they go, well, is it something that we have to do or not? Or is it something we can take care of? They'll still go in and help, but it might not come back successful. And I think that's also the difference, is they are willing to accept defeat too, if need to be, if that makes sense. Like,
I think you also run into, because you kind of also hit another aspect of it for me, and that is the fact that the Justice League is more like a strike force,
mhm.
but the Justice Society is more akin to like Xavier's school. Going with it is more of the aspect of the education side of it.
I see where you're coming.
The Justice Society is they're teaching people how to be heroes,
Yep.
where the Justice League, yes, they're all heroes, but they don't care how they look.
Right. And They just
there.
throw you kind of into the wolves a little bit. You already know how to be a hero kind of thing. Go do your job.
Right.
I get that. I think that's a good point too, because not only that, and we've talked about it in other episodes and other things too, is this team's built legacy. And not only that, you've had the legacy of all these heroes where not only they trying to make them heroes, but they're also making them learn their limits with their powers and making them learn how to use things, but only sticking to the members that they have worked with in the past or their legacies. So
Right.
that's what makes it so interesting with them too. And it's really one of the only teams that focuses on that. Not a lot of teams in comics, period, deal with the fact of legacy as much as the JSA does. Like,
Well, and that's what I love about DC.
mm,
Is DC, there are so many characters that have so many legacies.
yes. Well, we all know DC's got better sidekicks. We've all known that. Like sidekicks
Yeah.
on Marvel, it's like Bucky, it's like, oh yeah, hey, and then he gets killed off, and then oh yeah, we bring him back as the Winter Soldier kind of thing. Or you have things like that. DC, you have characters like Robin. You have characters like we talked about. In other episodes, you have like Stargirl who comes in as a legacy. You have all these other characters who come in, and it works so well for the story, especially the JSA, because you have those stories that, yeah, that's the past kind of thing. Now you're in present day. Now you're here. Now what are you going to do? So that their aspects change too, along with their legacies. So the way they
Right.
look at the society is different than one they looked at back in the 90s. And the other thing I want to talk about before we kind of go into this is they dealt with real world issues.
Yeah.
Mind you, heroes in World War II, but to come back and now have to face their own country with McCarthyism and the Red Scare. They all were put into retirement. And the fact being, they stayed like that for years. Like, yeah, you had your moments, but
But and you mentioned a really good point there, is we hear a lot of talk about anymore about comics shouldn't be political. But haven't they always been to some degree?
and I agree with that. Like when you really think, and that's the thing with the JSA is, and that's why I've always loved them, is they deal with aspects of history. And the fact with the McCarthyism, if people don't know what that was, is pretty much the fear of communism spreading through the United States. And they looked at the heroes in this, especially Justice Society, and made them go either reveal yourselves, force into retirement, or if you continue to act, you will be pretty much considered a fugitive.
Right. And most of them, I mean, if you had to choose between Captain America or Iron Man, I mean, oh, wait.
Exactly. What? Bum, bum, bum. No, but see, can I be honest about something? This is something I've always found weird. How can you say stuff like that, but then you have characters like Jay Garrick who only wears a helmet? So his whole
Right.
face is revealed.
Oh, it's vibrating.
Oh, yeah. That's a good way to put. I'm just saying that most of the characters, when you really think
Yeah.
about it, their faces are revealed.
Oh,
Like,
right. There were so many characters that it was like, it isn't it kind of obvious who you are? You know,
yeah, exactly. Like, Jay, we all know it's you. No?
I'm not Jay Garrett. Yeah.
What are you talking about? See, my voice is deep in there. No, it's one of those like, but and I agree with you. Going back to the whole political scene, I feel like that's what kind of set the whole thing up with the JSC a lot more. Like that's the whole thing. Like, other than their origins, fans, please don't go read their origins. It is a
No.
wacky story. Like that story was wacky,
Well,
and we're
if
gonna
you're
get.
gonna if you go back and read their origins, please just remember that this was like the 40s. This was a totally different time.
But you
You know,
want to be totally honest? Their origins didn't come in the 40s. They came
that's
in the
true.
70s.
That's
Took
true.
7 or 30 years to get to actually telling how the team actually formed. And then you have
They were
Batman.
busy.
Yeah, they're busy. Oh man, like, oh yeah, we never told you our origins, huh? No. I just when you really look at because what was it? They would try to what was it? The German forces during World War II were trying to get the Spirit of Destiny, which that and then that kind of told your weirdness because then it was like, oh yeah, the Valkyries are helping. It's like, isn't that Norse mythology? Like, how does that all fit into this wacky story that we're going with
I
here?
just remember being a kid and seeing some of that stuff in comics though, and being like, I don't remember any of this from the history book.
I just, that's what makes it so interesting that like that's why I like the JSA because they take wacky concepts like that, but make it like this is what happened, and then you have the legacies like, yeah, right, like this isn't this isn't how you guys form, okay, Grandpa, kind of thing. Like we don't believe this, like I just, you know, and going back to the whole McCarthyism thing, like it's so it's so well done for them, like it
Oh
truly
yeah,
is. It fits them. Like, I think if we would have kept the concept of Earth 1 and Earth 2, then yeah, maybe it wouldn't. And I'm
right.
kind of glad.
I think that putting it all together is a great idea.
Mhm. I kind of like that. Like we said, like Justice League was a team that formed after the Justice
Yeah,
Society, like, and the fact that they didn't reform really to like the 90s, because then that's when you have Sand and you have all the legacies come into play.
right.
Um, and throughout time, you've had All Star Squadron, we've had Infinity Inc., we've had Young All Stars, if I'm not mistaken. That was another
Yeah,
one too that
Young
they
All
had.
Stars,
Um,
the Young Justice Society
yeah, that one I like,
is
and I
more
kind of
recent.
like. Yeah, I do like that concept. I wish they do more with it, but I haven't been impressed too much with it, and I don't feel Lemire would do something like that right now.
No,
But that's why I said, like, even with that, like, we go to the 90s where you go to their legacies. And yes, you have members still on it. Jay's on it, Wildcat's on it, and Alan Scott. But then you get more of the newer heroes. And this is after the passing of Wesley Dodds that they formed. But what's your take on going from the original team to their legacies being the next run?
I really think that that is something that DC has handled very well, is the way they handle legacies.
Mhm.
And Justice Society is a great example of what it's like trying to live up to the legacies of people, of your parents, of the people you idolize.
Mhm.
And I think that that's something that is it's important to recognize, because I think that we all as people have people in your life who you look up to and who the way they view you is important, and you have to decide how important.
Right.
And that's kind of the struggle that they all deal with.
Right. We've talked about this because Infinity Inc. was kind of a setup to me, and I know we've talked about that too, to what we got with JSA 99 to 2006, is you had those moments with them where they're learning, but at the same time, now they're dealing with all their issues. Al Rothstein, Atom Smasher, is another
Yeah.
big one that deals with the struggle because he's the godson of the original Atom.
Yeah.
But Al Rothstein is another big one that deals with that. Jade and Obsidian. Obsidian being one of their first villains too that they faced in that series.
Yes.
That's what I said. Like even the Injustice Society they came up with too was really well done for them. You get the classic story with Black Adam coming into it, but then Black Adam taking people like Atom Smasher and a couple others and them going to liberate Kahndaq. I feel like, and I'll put it out there, still might get hot takes. I do feel that is still the best run of the Justice Society because
Oh,
it actually
Johns' run
celebrates.
was amazing.
Yeah, like you both, like, because yeah, he did. It was Robinson and Johns, and then Johns did it again in 2007, um, and on. Both runs were great. Like
Yeah,
I have
Robinson
one
and
of the
Johns,
issues
that
right here.
first one was the better of the two, I think.
Yeah,
But it was great. Yeah,
like
before that, I think that to me it's like I said, before that, I was probably more of a fan of the All-Star Squadron than Justice Society
Yeah.
up
Like
until then.
All-Star Squadron, I think I told you before we got on, All-Star Squadron was one I got into more recently. I did not get into them right away. And them and Infinity Inc. Infinity Inc. I was into it a little bit more than that, but not further off from when I started All-Star Squadron. And it just, that's what I said. I like the team when they're dealing with their legacies. I get the whole concept of having the old heroes on there and mentoring them and stuff like that. But then in the long run, I don't feel it does them any justice to keep on that story for them. For me, fun enough, JSA #1 was my first comic I ever owned right here.
Oh,
So
really?
that was my first comic I ever owned, period. Like my introduction was into comics was Batman the Animated Series. Most people my age, that's kind of where we gravitated to. But my first comic I ever owned was JSA #1. And I fell in love with the series.
I don't remember my actual, like, first title or the first book I bought. I
Mhm.
just remember the first title that, like, really drew me in, that I really loved. Who's Who.
That is a
I loved I loved getting the Who's Who in the DC universe
yeah.
every issue, and then you'd just read the little bio on a character, and then at that point, it's like, "Man, I love this story. Now I wanna read more stories from all these characters." And
Well, didn't they do that with the JSA too? They have the JSA files.
yeah, the
And so
secret files.
yeah, the secret files, because that's where you get Kendra Saunders' first appearance and stuff.
Right,
And I remember that because it started off with an issue, like a little series, like to kind of get you into the story a little bit, and then it goes into all the files. So it goes into Sanderson and all the
right.
members we're gonna see,
That was
Jack
when they were
Knight.
doing
Yeah.
yeah, they started doing the secret files and Origins.
Yes. I remember that because I remember just buying that recently and I read it and I was like, man, I forget all about this. And it's just fun to go down that whole rabbit hole to learn all the characters again. But yeah, like even though going back to the whole John's run when he took it back over and did the '07 run, I would say about the first like 25 issues of that is really good. Really good storytelling because that's when you get the Kingdom Come Superman coming into it,
Right.
and that part was good. After that, then it kind of just went downhill for me. I just never cared. Um, but that's why I said, like, even with JSA, just overall, just the whole, like we talked about the legacy, it's the importance of the story. And I kind of want to end this out. Like I said, I know this wasn't going to be a longer episode. We kind of want to talk about our love and everything. I'm going to ask you, Danny, what's your favorite moment with the JSA?
My favorite moment with the JSA, and I'm trying to remember what issue it was. It all tied in. I think it was like Armageddon Inferno or something like that. It tied into Armageddon 2001.
Yes.
And they're facing the Ragnarok limbo situation where they went into limbo the first time,
Yes.
and they're facing it again, and they have to make the decision about would they go back there and
hmm
fight the same fight again to save everything, knowing the results of it. And I just remember that and thinking about, man, you've already went through this.
Yeah.
You've already sacrificed yourself once doing this.
hmm
And you've seen the results.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to do it again?
Yeah. Ah,
And now,
right.
not go back and do it again, and not know if anybody's gonna save you this time or not.
Right. Like, I'll be honest, I have a couple funny ones, but then I'll go over like two like main storylines that always stuck out to me. One of them was the arm wrestling match between Adam Smasher and Black Adam and Shazam coming in. Like well, I'm here to pitch for you to be on this team. Don't ruin this, by doing something stupid like this to prove your strength. Like just them and Stargirl's just saying, like, seriously, this is what we're doing. Um, the other fun one I always liked is when Shazam or Captain Marvel at the time and Stargirl get together. And this
Yeah,
is gonna sound weird because people are like, "Isn't that an adult and a kid?" You gotta remember, Billy Batson is still a kid.
right,
So,
and I enjoyed that one too. I thought that was a good twist on it.
like,
But
Jay's like,
no,
"How? Why? Like, why are you doing this?" And then he's like, "Well, if I do that, I have to reveal who I am." And then I think he ends up doing it. He reveals himself
yeah,
to be a kid, and then it's like, "Oh, well, then it's okay. Just when you're doing superhero business, don't go around kissing,
yeah.
holding hands, and all that. You can't do that." Um,
Now
but
another one that I hadn't really thought about it until just now is the JLA JSA crossovers, the
yes,
Thanksgiving ones.
yes, those are always good moments. Like, um, oh man, that I like the moment like when Terrific and Batman were together. I think that was JSA 54, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
I like the ones like that. I like it when you see the teams interacting with each other and see characters interacting that don't necessarily normally interact in a more personal way.
yeah. Like one of the ones, and I'm kind of going near that because it's issue 55. I like the Ma Hunkel episode or comic, the one where it's Hawkman. Want to say it's Alan. It's either Hawkman or Wildcat, and it's Alan and Jay, and they go see Ma Hunkel, and then they kind of like invite her to be like an honorary member, to be a part of their team, but like she's now like the housekeeper. She's the one that's making sure everything's good to go, everything like that. I've always liked the Black Rain storyline. I've always been a big fan of that storyline just because it kind of finally gives it that morally gray area for the JSA, something we
Yeah,
don't tend to see with them. This was one of my other favorite moments with the JSAs. I think it's Thanksgiving dinner during the 52 event, when it was just the main three. And that's when Infinity Inc. was owned by Lex at the time. So
right,
that scene kind of made me, because it kind of made them finally start questioning if what they're doing is truly right now, or are they history? Are they just another page in the
right.
books? You
And I
know,
thought that was a really good issue touching on that because
I
that would
believe
be something you would start to wonder.
it's I think issue 29 of that series. But even too, something else we haven't touched on either. This series even introduced one of the main Trinity members of comics, and that is Wonder Woman in All Star
Yeah,
Comics #8. Like, people tend to forget, like, this was kind of a touching point for a lot of heroes. A lot of heroes made their first
right.
entrance in this. You know, that's why I say, like, even Black Canary came into it later on. There was just a lot that's happened in this series. Like, um, there's the other point. Was this a little issue
Yeah.
when Kingdom
When
Comes?
Magog was a member?
Yeah, God. Don't remind me, like, that is the only thing I don't like about that series is Magog. But when I didn't like Starman either, but so for Starman to be the one that gets him here, pretty much by using his powers, and then you get Kingdom Come Superman out of it, was kind of interesting. Like to kind of see, because if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since I've read it, but they plucked him right when the explosives were going off. They plucked him right from that time and brought him to their universe.
Right.
And I always like the artistic style for him too, that they actually still kind of make him look like Superman that Alex Ross drew, compared to making
Yeah.
him like what he would be in the JSA comics. Because even the memory splash panels is all Alex Ross work. So having that, Stargirl, like I said, is a big part character. Now, here's my thing: who is your favorite original member of the JSA, and who's your favorite legacy?
My favorite original member? is Alan Scott.
Okay.
And, I went through a phase there for a while where I wasn't happy with all the changes they made with him,
Hmm.
with his sexuality and with everything.
Hmm.
But as they've delved into it more, it really does add to the character,
Hmm.
and it really does make him more three-dimensional and actually makes him more interesting.
Yeah. I, I feel like when they made the change with him, I do feel it kind of made him realize a lot of things, especially with his kids, that he wasn't really a part of their life, and made him understand that the importance of him being in their lives. And you could see a difference after with him. I got to be better. I got to do this and still try to be part of Jade's and Todd's life. But I agree with that. Like it's, I think it was one of those moments that kind of made people freeze in comics a little bit. So it was like, what? But it kind of, I agree with you. It kind of gave him that character shift that he needed. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
The,
And I think it also, I mean, that's part of what comics do is they make you not only evaluate the characters sometimes,
mhm,
but evaluate yourself.
exactly.
And, I mean, when they made that change, it was like, but they're changing so much about him. And it's like, not really.
Right. I agree with you. Now the question is too, who's your favorite legacy?
My favorite legacy? Hmm, that gets a lot more interesting.
It does. There's a lot.
Um, Probably Jesse.
Yeah.
Jesse Quick.
Like I agree 110% there. Jesse and Rick are my two favorites of legacies. Um, always been like that. But for mentors or like the original, I do like Jay, but I do feel that's a cop out answer. I just feel like, oh, if you like Jay, you're just pretty basic. And I'm not being that in a mean way. Just I don't like the Spectre on the team. That is the one character that I go,
No,
why?
he's too unpredictable.
Yeah. Like Dr. Fate can be that way, but not compared to the Spectre. The Spectre is just too wild. I'd probably go Wesley. I do like Wesley Dodds a lot as original. Hawkman I do like too, just other than the retcons. And there's a lot. I think John's for at least stabilizing the character to make him go, this is what this is. And nobody's really shied away from that since. So I'm kind of happy John's stabilized Hawkman's life and made it where it's like, now I can understand it.
Yeah.
But no, I feel this is a great way to go out of the episode. Fans, let us know what you guys love about the JSA. What was your first time getting introduced to them? Let us know that in the comments. I want to thank Danny again for coming on and joining us. Danny, tell the fans where they can find you.
You can find me at Talking Geek on pretty much all the socials. That's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. It's all Talking Geek.
Fans, remember to check out the DC Comment Talker on Instagram and TikTok. Also, if you like this content and you want more of it, remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell notification, and like the video. And without further ado, my name is Brandon.
This is Danny.
And remember, may DC Comics always be the top of your discussion.